What's up, friend? Hector here, strongestech.com. It's been a little while since I've made a video. pretty much have been off the grid for like the last 8 months maybe. 2018 ended with quite a surprise, quite a twist. If you're not on my email list, or if you're not on Facebook, you may not know that pretty much on Halloween, October 31st, I stepped forward and became a living liver donor and donated 70% of my liver to a family member. And so, kind of been off the grid, haven't really talked about it much, and but that's pretty much the extent. If you want to know more about kind of how it all went down and what happened, I talk about it on my Facebook page. I'll put a link in the description, so if you want to check that out and you're on Facebook, you're welcome to check that out. But pretty much, I'm excited to get back. Aside from allergies, I'm ready to get back. I'm back to making videos for you, but I'm also back. I think this is starting week 4 for me on my physical recovery. So for 8 to 12 weeks, I couldn't do any lifting. I couldn't do anything. Literally, not only was I recommended and ordered by the doctors to not do anything, literally I couldn't do anything. Something as basic as breathing diaphragmatically was very challenging for me, especially for the incision. So I'm going to be documenting a lot of kind of how I overcame a lot of this stuff, and I'm going to be sharing it with you, which is what we're going to be covering today, is breathing. Okay, so like I said, breathing was very challenging for me, and that was literally kind of like my rehabilitation over the course of the first 8 weeks was just breathing. Not because I forgot how to breathe, but just the nature and how when you breathe, that diaphragm moves up and down, right? That big domed muscle inside your rib cage, it moves up and down. And every time I would breathe into my belly, it would stretch and kind of pull on my incision. And so for one, that was very uncomfortable. And so getting that musculature, because they cut me, literally gut me like a fish, just below the sternum, all the way below my belly button. So they cut me from here to here. And so that whole abdominal area, they cut through all that tissue, right? So getting those muscles to work again, the prime movers, right, the rectus, all that obviously, but everything in there was damaged from the incision. So just learning to breathe again, and that was my rehabilitation. Okay, so, and I could feel literally every single muscle working. So that's what we're going to be kicking off today's Movement Monday with. So I'm going to change gears. Where I left off with this hip series that I was working on the previous episode, but we're going to kind of change gears and go a little bit of a different direction. We're still going to be working on the hips. So this is going to be starting a series called 5 Steps to Better Mobility for BJJ. Okay. So, and if you don't do martial arts, if you don't do Jiu-Jitsu, you're still going to benefit from this. Okay. What we're going to be addressing over the course of the next 6 weeks. I'm going to be working on this for the next 6 weeks. And the reason for that is because this is going to be my own rehabilitation. So take notes. This is literally stuff that I'm doing right now that's helping to kind of reestablish my hips and my shoulders, because that's what was greatly affected over the course of this of my recovery. Because for 8 weeks, I was laid up in a bed. I could get up and move around, but I just wasn't as active. I sat a lot. My posture kind of got worse. I had a lot of just stiffness in my upper back, thoracic area, and just my hips became a little tighter because I was sitting a lot more. So this is actual stuff I'm doing right now to improve my mobility. That way I can get back to training Jiu-Jitsu, which I'm pretty much 3rd or 4th week into Jiu-Jitsu, but I'm not feeling quite myself, but I'm back on the mats. I'm getting a good sweat in, doing a lot of drills, a lot of technique. But take notes, because this is what I'm going to be doing over the next 6 weeks, okay? So the first 3 weeks, we're going to be addressing the hips, and then weeks 4 through 6, we're going to be addressing the shoulders, okay? So the first thing, the most important thing that you want to focus on when you're trying to improve your mobility and your flexibility, whether it's for strength training or if it's for Jiu-Jitsu, is breath work, okay? And I talked about this in the How to Improve Your Squat series, and I'm just going to kind of recap and cover it again in case you haven't seen that episode. So breathing is fundamental. It is the #1 thing, okay? if you're feeling stiff, you need to focus on breathing first. Before you go into any kind of soft tissue work, if you're doing foam roll, if you're doing like lacrosse ball or anything like that, before you go into any of that, before you go into any kind of moving around, moving your hips, anything like that, you've got to focus on breathing. So we're going to cover 2 simple postures for breathing. Now, I don't like to do my breathing sitting up, like let's say if you sit like cross-legged, right? Or just sitting like this. I don't like doing it in this position, because what can happen is you will, what's the word I'm looking for? Encouraged? I don't know. The likelihood of you slouching and your posture changing is pretty high. So I don't want you to have to worry about your posture. I don't want you to have to worry about sitting up. So literally all you're going to do is you're going to lay on your back. If I'm moving gingerly, it's because, still recovering here. Abs are a little weak for me. So you're going to literally lay on your back, okay? 2 options. Option 1 is laying, holding onto your knees. I like this because this is what allows you to kind of open your hips a little bit. Hold onto the knees. Keep your head on the ground, okay? Keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and you're going to breathe in and out through your nose, okay? Now, notice my chin. I want my neck neutral. So it's almost like I'm going to slightly tuck my chin in just a little bit, okay? But I'm not going to go crazy, just a little bit, because I want my neck straight, okay? Hold onto the knees, and then you're going to breathe here for a minimum of 3 minutes, upwards to 5 minutes, okay? Set a little timer, and you're going to breathe 3 to 5 minutes, in through the nose, out through the nose. So what I'm doing, I don't know if you could hear what my breath sounds like. That's what's called Ujjayi yoga breathing, okay? So kind of like my entrance to fitness a long time ago was through yoga. And the most fundamental thing you learn is breathing. So this is what you're going to do while you're doing this kind of breath. Imagine you have your mouth open, and you're going to breathe in through the back of your throat like this. You'll feel your throat get dried out, really cold, and then you're going to exhale the same way. Again. Fills the belly. You're going to continue that, except you're going to close your mouth, and you're going to keep your tongue in the roof of your mouth. So it's going to sound like this. Okay, that's how you're going to do this breathing, Ujjayi yoga breathing, okay? 3 to 5 minutes. Option 2 is to lay on your back, and you're going to do crocodile breathing. You're going to get the most out of this if you actually do this with a partner, because you're going to need them to give you direct external feedback by them poking on the side of your belly, okay? So when you lay face down, the floor gives you feedback if you're doing this right, because your belly will push into the ground and your lower back will rise, okay? So doing the crocodile breath, very beneficial. You get that immediate feedback, but also not only do you want to breathe vertically, up and down, but you also want to breathe horizontally. You want to breathe laterally, okay? So you want your stomach to expand outwards, which is where it gets its name from, crocodile breathing. Because if you see a crocodile, their belly expands outwards, okay? So they're breathing laterally. So to breathe, get full access of that diaphragm, and the whole concept of the crocodile breath, you want that your belly to expand outward, okay? So this helps with the partner. So because you want them to kind of poke on the inside of your sides of your stomach, and then that's going to give you that feedback to push their fingers out as you inhale, okay? But the breathing will be the exact same way. You're going to lay down, face first, hand over hand, relax your forehead, your hands on your forehead, and you're going to breathe the same way that I just showed you. Hopefully you see my lower back rising first. And you're going to do that for 3 to 5 minutes, okay? Literally set a timer. Now, the next thing, now that we've cleared that out, more than likely you will have improved some aspect of flexibility / mobility, okay? So from there, you can go through some soft tissue work if you need it, okay? If you need it. You may not need it. I'm going to bypass that because I don't like to spend a lot of time on soft tissue, and you don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Actually, you can go through like 1 or 2 minutes really quick. We're going to be focusing on the hips. So you can foam roll the hamstrings, the calves a little bit, they get really tight sometimes. Soleus, like right here behind, kind of like between the Achilles and the lower part of the calf, you can hit this spot. But we're going to kind of bypass that, okay, just for time constraints, and we're going to go right into the actual like mobilizing of the hips. So lie on my back, and for this drill, you want to keep your hips on the floor, okay, because you're going to have your legs in the air, and you don't want to raise your legs up and then your tailbone kind of like starts coming up off the ground, okay, so you want to keep your hips down, okay. So for this first drill, this is something that we go through in the ground force method system, GFM, is just a simple leg scissor, okay. So leg is straight, okay, so you can see right now I'm already having a hard time just kind of keeping my leg extended without my leg shaking. But as I go through this, it'll go away. So hands up just like this. Hands on the floor, leg up, and you're going to scissor your legs like this. Okay, really simple. Okay, here you're going to feel a big stretch from the hamstring all the way up to the calf. Keep your foot flexed. You don't want your foot relaxed. You don't want your knee relaxed. If you can't keep it straight, and let's say you can keep it straight here, then this is where you'll do your leg scissor. Okay, that's step 1. As the mobility increases, you can go straight up and down, okay? Very simple. This is step 1 here, okay? Now, once we start to work through this, okay, now we're going to find yourself a strap. I'm going to use my Jiu-Jitsu belt. You can use your belt, or you can get like some kind of yoga strap or something like that, okay? So all you're going to do is you're going to go here, okay? Do about 15 to 20 of these, okay? Left and right is 1, and you're going to go through 15 to 20 reps while you're breathing in and out through your nose. Tongue is on the roof of your mouth, okay? So I'm already feeling more comfortable doing this. Now, we're going to do an active leg drop, okay, and leg raise, and what that's going to do is that's going to challenge my hip flexor. So sometimes our hip flexors get really tight because we sit a lot. Again, I was sitting for a long period of time, so this starts to tighten up on me a little bit, okay. So literally get your strap, and you're going to hold here where you know that you can keep the leg straight. You don't want the leg shaking. You don't want to have to fight through this, okay. So find a comfortable position. Okay, now this leg's going to go straight, and you're going to come up, and you're just going to match your foot, and you're going to breathe. Always keep this leg that's active. Keep it active. You don't want the leg to relax or touch the ground when you get to the bottom. Keep it active, okay? So what we're looking for here is, can your hip maintain extension, this leg, while this leg is in flexion, okay? This hip is flexed, this hip's extended. And you're going to do 15 to 20 reps. Okay? As you begin to increase mobility, you can start to begin to make this leg straighter. Again, we want your hips to stay on the floor. We don't want your hips rolling up off the ground, okay? Lower back stays on the ground. And you're going to run through, like I said, 15 to 20. Then you're going to switch sides, okay? Literally just kind of switch out here. Leg is straight. (15 to 20). Okay? Really simple. Now, to close out that piece of the hip, I covered this in one of our other Movement Monday episodes, and that is a basic hip flexor stretch. Because, again, sometimes the hip flexor can be a limitation and not let those legs completely scissor. So what you're going to do here is you're going to be in a half kneeling position, basically like a lunge position, 90-90 with your legs. Bring both hands to one knee. Now from here, you're going to contract your glute. When you squeeze your glute, your glute and your hip flexor, they're connected neurologically. Okay, so when you squeeze your glute, it will start to relax and it will inhibit your hip flexor from contracting. Okay, so you're going to contract and squeeze your glute. Right away you'll feel a big stretch. You're going to inhale just like we've been doing, and then exhale, and it's a very small movement. This is about the extent of your extension. Okay, inhale back, exhale, relax the glute. Before you go into the next rep, contract, you'll feel the big stretch. Inhale, exhale, go into the stretch. 10 of those. I'm going to switch, that way I can do both sides while I'm here on video with you. Same thing. You may notice one side tighter than the other. That's okay. You're identifying those asymmetries. You just may need to spend a little more time going through this. One thing that's very important as you're going through this, I'll do this one facing you, is you want your hips to be level. I don't want my hip hiked up like this. I want my hips to be level just like this. Okay? Hands here, inhale, exhale, glutes are tight. I'm already feeling the stretch. Back off, relax the glute, engage again. Here we go. Inhale, exhale, go into the stretch. Relax. 10 times. Okay? Very simple. This whole little circuit should take you like maybe 10 minutes. So you'll spend about 3 to 5 minutes on breathing. From there, you'll use your belt or strap and you'll start to do the leg drops. Okay, actually you'll start with the leg scissors. From the scissors, you'll do about 15 to 20. Those shouldn't take very long. You'll go right into, with your belt or strap, and you'll do the actual leg drop. So now you're doing like the full extended leg scissors, like this, okay? You're testing now hip flexor and back of the legs, calves, that whole thing. 15 to 20 repetitions there. Then you get up and you finish off with the hip flexor stretch. From that moment, once you're done there, a simple like assessment that you can do to check, like, did my mobility increase, is check your toe touch. Can you touch your toes? Let's say, start this test out before you go into this, like do a simple toe touch. Make sure your feet are together. Always make sure your feet are together, knees together. You're going to reach forward, see where your toe touch is at. Let's say you were barely able to touch them, and now you can comfortably touch them. Maybe you can even go palms to the floor. You know that you increased that ability to go, that you increased that mobility of the hips. So you're able to sit your hips back, sit deeper into the hips, and touch the floor, okay? Let's say maybe you were 6 inches from your toes, and now you're 3 inches from your toes. There was an improvement there, okay? So you're gonna run through this little sequence every single day before you go through any kind of lifting and before you go through any kind of rolling or anything like that, all right? So this is part 1 of the 5 Steps to Better Mobility for BJJ series. There's going to be 6 parts. So over the course of the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be rolling out, okay, now what's step 2? Step 2, we're going to be going through how to basically kind of lock this in. So I'm going to cover 5 simple steps, but basically what I'm doing is I'm taking those 5 steps and I'm breaking it into 3 phases, okay? So phase 1, which is what we did today, breathing and mobility, okay, which is steps 1 and 2, breathing and mobility, okay? Breathing, 3 to 5 minutes. The mobility was moving the hips, okay? Next week, we're going to be covering steps 2 and 3, which is phase 2, and then the last phase is the last piece to lock all this and bring it all together. And then we're going to repeat that and do the same things for the shoulder. So I'm going to literally be taking you step by step and show you how to work all this through, because this is something I'm going to be going through personally to show you how I'm kind of rehabbing and getting back on track to where I was before the whole transplant surgery. So that's pretty much all I got. If you're interested in checking out the whole story behind the whole transplant thing, kind of why I did it and kind of where I was coming from, there's a link below in the comment section that will take you to my Facebook page. You can check it out there. If you've had any experience with that, or if it resonated with you or anything like that, leave a comment in the Facebook post. But if not, I look forward to sharing my journey with you on how I'm going to basically put all this together and covering everything with you for the next 5 to 6 weeks. So that's all I got. Hector again with StrongestTech.com with this week's Movement Monday for the week.